Super Sunday here on the APAT show. Leigh and I are very pleased to be joined once again by Serial Nice Guy, and I mean that in a very nice way, Mr. Paul Haycock, who will analyse your play in the final leg of this week's squads, as well as the roller. I'm sure Paul may also share some stories of his trips to Vegas and perhaps Walsall as well, if we ask him nicely. Okay, I'm back with the guys right after this. Leigh, Paul won't mind being called a nice guy. He is a nice guy. He's one of the good guys, right?
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think you can get away with that one. Not a problem whatsoever. For our 52nd show, the pack is complete.
52. This must be the ace of that? What is this? The ace of diamonds or something? The ace of hearts, maybe? We've done the whole thing.
Something around that. Exactly. Excellent stuff. So yeah, welcome to the show, Paul. How you doing?
How you doing? Okay.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. How's your weekend been?
It's been lovely. I'll tell you what about my my football day yesterday later on. It couldn't have gone better. It couldn't have gone better. It was amazing.
Football's back, everyone. I'm sure you're delighted to hear that. Our numbers are plummeting. Yeah. I'm sure they're plummeting now, Leigh. Actually, shall I take a look? Shall I see? Because we had a bit of a tech issue last week, which we then found out was a bit of a Facebook glitch issue. They haven't fixed it yet, so we haven't been able to do a scheduled sort of start. We felt a bit like NASA, right, with a scheduled start. We weren't able to do that this evening, so we sort of advertised it as 10 o'clock, lads, please come try and find us. We're in the group, and luckily, it would appear some people have, in fact, found us. So I see Asa McGrath is in there, as we come to expect now. Has he missed a night? I don't think so. Asa says, evening all. Evening to you, Asa. Jeff Talbot is there. Nasser Mohammed is there. Mr. Haycock himself is watching on, as you'd expect. Peter Wigglesworth, who was with us last weekend, is there. Hi to you, Peter. Nazar says, hello from Deutschland. So Nazar is listening in from Germany. Igor is there. Evening to you, Igor. So it's a small. Jeff Talbot says, hello. We've got 13 or 14 in there, so it's a small crew. They'll feed their way in, I'm sure, as the evening goes on.
So here's my question then, Des.
Yeah.
How many people who are watching this haven't been on the show? Just like pull your weight, you know what I mean?
We've had about approximately 52 of them. So not too many. Not too many.
So the Joker comes next then, yeah? I'll leave you to fill in the gap.
Yeah, listen, Nazar, can you call in from Deutschland next weekend? Maybe we'll do it that way. Well, that's what we can do, Leigh. We just call people out on the show. Right, we can say, there you go, Martin Hadfield, who says, sup, lads. So, what's good, Martin? You're on the show next weekend, right? Book it in.
Yeah, come on down, yeah.
Come on down. The price is right.
Yeah, the price is right. Yeah.
So, listen, it's been a long, hard 52 weeks, Leigh. The guys have slogged it out playing poker for many of them. So, what's the big draw tonight?
So it's Sunday, which means we've got the culmination of the Sunday roller that's been going all week. 44 players in that. We're down to the final 7, paying top 6, $440 up top for the winner of that. On that final table, Sylvia Hewitt, Shug Carney's there, Colin McCarthy, who loves this tournament on a Sunday night. So they're all still going strong. And we've obviously got the culmination of game week 23 of Poker Squads. And 84 runners in the deep stack tonight, paying top 12, $111 up top. And that's all to play for. Purple Ackies, Eat My Stack, Four Nations, possibly Lockdown Crew, maybe JFS in with a shout. So we'll keep a track on that and let you guys know how it pans out.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we know the way this pans out, right? It goes down to the last 3 or 4 runners. It does that every week, right? It does that every week.
Pretty much. Yeah, So
Listen,
we'll see whether somebody can do a Tim Magnus from last week. So.
let's do a Tim Magnus and go right to the bitter end. Listen, I would only be surprised, Lee, if there were a couple of Icelandic girls in the chat room. That's the only thing that would surprise me this week, I have to say.
It depends. Have you been on the dating app then?
Unfortunately not, but I haven't been on the dating app or the hippie crack. I haven't done that either. But it's been that sort of...
Have they brought the jelly babies? That's what I want to know. Yeah. Yeah, don't let them in. Don't let them in if they've not brought the jelly babies.
It's easy knowing the football's back. It's easy knowing the football's back.
Yeah, exactly.
So Paul, have you been playing tonight? Dipped your toe?
Yeah, briefly. So I was in the I was in the roller and had that magnificent moment of a three-way all-in, aces, kings, and queens. That doesn't happen very often. Oof. My queens, obviously, no help. So
unlucky.
So that was the roller. I lasted a bit longer in the played one of the GUKPT events tonight and bust that just before I joined here. So no, you have my undivided attention, I'm afraid.
Oh well, that's
good to know. That's good. It's good to know the showbot actually spreads across more than one poker network. It's nice to know that we've got the ability to do that.
Spreads across networks and tours. I mean, we can take whole swathes of players out. So
didn't I mention I'm just a Grosvenor shill now?
well, I might as well take this picture off, Lee. I have to say, I think this is a very fetching picture. I think you're looking really well in this, Paul.
Yeah,
you got chips.
No, it's nice. That was about a stone and a half ago, that one.
Well, I tell you what,
were those hoodies actually green? I don't remember them being green.
It's like that dress, where some people see it as blue and some people see it as green.
They're grey. They're grey. I've got one of those.
No way. No way. That looks green.
Grey. I mean, they're either blue or green. No one has ever seen them as grey. You've got.
Or maybe they are blue. No. Actually, no. You're right. They're blue.
Wow.
Actually, no, blue. You are right.
Yeah. That is a nice looking green hoodie.
But that is completely. I assumed you'd photoshopped it.
No, hell no. I got to admit, it's the sort of thing I do, right? I would Photoshop it to fit in with the surrounding sort of, template, but I haven't done. No, I haven't done that. I have Photoshopped people in and out. I think my most famous Photoshop of the guest pictures over the 52 shows. Can you recall it, Lee?
The removal of the leg.
That's right.
No.
So we had Alan Horsburgh on one night. I put a beautiful picture of himself and his girlfriend. I think they were on an aeroplane or something. Into the guest template. We were about halfway through the show, and one of his mates sort of wrote in the chat box, "Hey Al, where's your leg?" Oh shit! There's one leg there, and the other leg isn't there. Detail.
Yeah.
Detail.
So Naz has just said in the chat, Paul. Apparently he had the kings in that three-way
nice answer.
Yeah,
so, I don't know.
Familiar, yeah.
I don't know who had the aces, but anyway,
that's right. With love from Germany, Paul.
I think it may have been one of our Eastern European friends who had the aces, but that's fine. No one did anything wrong.
Well, listen, okay. Lee and we do what we have to do, Lee, right, to get the guest properly focused for the show. So we pulled the lever. Job was done.
Yeah.
Everybody knows we've got it.
Last time I came on the show, I bust the first hand of the tournament that I'd been playing, and I made the mistake of getting it in with aces heads up against the guy with ace king, and. Hit trips on the river, which was impressive. So I lasted longer than that time.
So listen, a little birdie, right? Not so little, quite a tall birdie, a really, really tall birdie told me that you have, in fact, dipped your toe into live cash. Now we're going to come back to that because that's interesting because you're probably the first player that we've had on the show that's played lockdown poker, right? You've been out there. But before we get on to that, obviously we're getting towards the end of the WPT Online Championship. I think the main event, day 2, tomorrow. We've got a 25 grand high roller event starting at the end of the week. And I think then we have a big one, Lee. Have we got 100,000 buy-in next week at some point?
That's the one we're playing, isn't it? Yeah.
That's right. So we're both in that. A couple of freebies, right?
Yeah.
A couple of freebies.
Yeah.
Two
bullets each. Yeah,
two bullets. Yeah. 2 bullets each. Well, I'm going to give Lee one of my bullets because obviously I'll only need the one. But tell me, Paul, what with this and the WSOP and crikey, the W Coupe and all of the stuff that's going on. Have you sampled any of the higher?
It's been a really terrible time to be really busy with work, hasn't it?
Well, to be honest, I'd rather be really busy with work. Have you been really busy?
It's a good thing. And I'm not complaining at all. So I in sort of proper lockdown period itself, sort of April, May time, I wasn't busy, and I was playing a lot of poker, playing all the APAT squads, but also sort of WPT first time around earlier this year, and a few other bits and pieces, which kind of went okay, and it sort of washed its own face, but nothing huge. And then now all of these things that have been happening, all the ones that you mentioned, has just coincided with me being busy with work. So it's been early starts every morning, so I've not got into too much of it in the last few weeks, to be quite honest.
Oh, well, that's a shame, because there's no doubt. I think many of us would not hesitate to have a few quid on you in some of these big events, because you definitely have game. But it's nice to see a bit of stability and a bit of normality coming back, if you like. So that is good. Whatever about losing the opportunity to have a big score.
Yeah, I work for myself, so especially at the moment, you take the work when you can get it. So no real complaints. But unfortunately, no stories of glory to share with you from WPT, WSOP, WQ, anything like that.
That's all right. And tell me, any of the sort of crew that you play with online, any of the lads or lassies playing anything? Anybody had any decent results that you've heard of?
Well, Pete Wigglesworth seems to play about 200 tournaments a night, and obviously does very well. So we've got our kind of England team or proposed England team WhatsApp group, and he's always sharing his hand histories and all that kind of thing on there. So he's actually he's thinking of going to San Marino in a few weeks' time, which sounds like a fantastic idea.
Yeah, we had him on the show. We had him on the show last week.
Let's just all go to San Marino. That sounds like a great.
And he's been toying with wanting to go away somewhere, and he'd booked some time off. He was saying last week, and he messaged me about a month ago saying, what do you think? And we had the discussion last week, and we're like, I'm not sure whether I'd be wanting to get on a plane and go anywhere at the moment. I mean, what's your take on actually flying anywhere, Paul, at the moment? Something you want to do, or not comfortable with it?
I'm not nervous about doing it, other than the prospect of everything changing again while I'm there.
Yeah.
Because everything's so kind of fluid at the moment. Like I could happily sit on a plane for a couple of hours with the mask on. That's not a problem. And I love the idea of going away somewhere, and especially having cancelled our family holiday. So we were supposed to have 10 days in Valencia in July. That obviously went by the wayside. Flight got cancelled. So we've had a few days in Wales or whatever, just to try and get away, a bit of a change of scenery. But the door is very much open for a trip somewhere. But it's just so fluid at the moment. You just can't sort of be 100% sure that you're going to get back, or whether you're going to be in quarantine by the time you get back. So it's probably better to err on the side of caution, I guess, at the moment. But,
it's difficult for anyone that's working, and I suppose even more so for self-employed people. If you're on a contract or doing whatever, to be having to go back to a client and go in, sorry, actually, I can't come and see you for another 2 weeks after I just had a holiday. On the one hand, everything I'm doing at the moment is from home. But if I did get it and was actually ill to the point where I wasn't able to work, then it becomes really expensive. Because you're going from being paid to not immediately. It is very difficult. I'll tell you a story about a friend of mine who's a plumber, and unfortunately didn't get much support during lockdown due to timings of when he was doing self-employed things and all this and that. But he basically got back to doing some work, and he went to do a job about 3 weeks ago for a landlord called him in to fix a leaking tap. So he went to this house, met a chap there, fixed the leaking tap. It was about 30 quid's worth of work. So left, all of a sudden his phone the following day started buzzing, message, this, that, or that, and it was track and trace. And they said basically you need to stay at home. And it transpired that the other half of the chap that he met is a nurse, and she tested positive. And basically he had to self-isolate for 14 days, lost about 1,500 quid's worth of work for a 30 quid leaky tap. And I said to him, I said, it's really unfortunate. There's nothing you can do. They don't offer you any support or anything as a self-employed person. It's just basically tough. But I said to him, I said, would it change your view on what work you do going forward? And he said, he said, I'd do a bit more due diligence with people as to who they are before I'd even say, yes, I'd go into work. And he said, for a 30 quid leaky tap, if it's somebody that works in the NHS, he said, I probably wouldn't take the work.
Yeah.
He said it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah, and it's creeping closer to me again now, because we've just had this. So I'm in Kenilworth in Warwickshire, as you probably know, but the Birmingham restrictions have sort of come as far as Solihull, which is about 10 minutes up the road from me. So it's it kind of feels like we're not that far away from being at least semi-lockdown again here anyway. So
how are they doing it, Paul? What's the boundary? Is it do they work on? I presume there must be.
Solihull is it's kind of complicated, but it's a borough that's part of historically Birmingham itself. So the border between Solihull and Warwickshire is Borsal Common, which is like 10 minutes up the road from me. So that's all caught by it. So their restrictions at the moment, I think you can't see anyone from another household indoors. So it's not like full lockdown, everything's closed, but it's very restrictive in terms of who you can see and what you can do with them.
I think this is going to be in place. I think right through Christmas. I think this will be in place until into the new year. I think so. I think with this rule of six thing is just aimed at already trying to manage that off, which will get a lot of people moaning and not happy about kind of their Christmas gatherings or whatever. But ultimately, I think it's the right thing to do.
Well, we are where we are, I guess. But whether it was the right thing to do to open everything in the first place, I guess is open to question. But
I suppose it's that balance of needing to get the economy going again. Inevitably, when you open things up, and you, as Des and I were chatting before we came on air, and you send everyone back to university and you send everyone back to school. You kind of know the numbers are going to go up. It's just inevitable. That's what's going to happen. So.
I guess the point is, several months on, at least we now know what it's going to look like, and we're much better prepared for it. And I think people on the whole are certainly educated enough in terms of what you can do to lessen your chances. But I dare say spike's on the way, and at this point there aren't too many people who probably are able to say no to that. I think everybody to some degree has got to be willing to accept that we're entering into the winter months. Flus and the like are going to occur. This will be part of it, and there's not with kids back at school. I mean, it's I don't know how you avoid it. I really don't. But we'll see.
And so even since I've got two lads, 13 and 9. So there's one in secondary school, one in primary school, and the one in secondary that the rules already changed. He's only been back a week, and they've gone from masks effectively being voluntary to being compulsory for the kids themselves now. So everything's getting a little bit more restrictive. In fact, I've got all three of them in education effectively, because my wife's a teacher in a sixth form college as well. So they're just kind of spending all of their week in sort of breeding grounds for the virus. So if anyone's going to get it, it's probably going to be us.
Was Sarah nervous about going back, or quite comfortable with what was in place? And
I wouldn't say nervous, but certainly concerned. And it was, she had a difficult summer as well, because she teaches A level, so she was involved in literally allocating people's grades when they hadn't done the exams that they were supposed to do. She's a curriculum leader, so she'd done loads of management stuff all across the summer. So she's been working most of the summer anyway. But obviously now she's back in the college itself. And these are 16 to 18 year olds. They're not. It's not that they don't care about the rules. It's just that they're 16 to 18 year olds. So they don't. Not everything they do is socially distanced, right? So it is definitely a concern. And that the college has done all the right things, and there's a one-way system all the way through the building, and masks are mandatory in the communal areas and all that kind of thing. But it doesn't. It reduces the risk, but it doesn't take it down to zero, obviously. So they're only one or two cases away from closing the whole place down again. So that feels like it's not too far off, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being overcautious, but it kind of feels like we're heading to a firmer lockdown sort of fairly soon, but hopefully not.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. Time will tell. Oh dear. Well, there you go. Right. So we're going to close the show now, guys. We're just going to turn it off. Oh no, we've plummeted down to 2 listeners. To be honest,
twice as many as usual, though.
Oh, well, it is. It has to be said. And to be honest, if they've survived with us past the last 23, 24, however many weeks it has been, and we've pretty much talked about this sort of stuff every night.
To be fair, if anyone that made it through the evening with Tony Trippier, and he's still with us, then fair play to them. Yeah.
Tony. That was a great night. That was one of the nights that I think we'll have to replay some of these nights, Lee and the group, and I think that would be up there with one of my favourites. I have to say, Tony. Yeah.
No, it was very, very good. So just to keep an eye on the roller, we're down to 6 in that now, so the guys are all in the money. Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that. Shug second in chips.
We lost my pick, Colin McCarthy. Lee, no, I know we didn't actually go around and pick people, but had we, I would have. So he's gone.
Unfortunately, and we're down to 30 in the in squads as well, and I am on life support in the passport final at the moment.
Oh no, tell us, Lee. Give us some details.
51st of 51 players, and I've not got very many lines.
Get them in, Lee. Get them in. Get them in.
Yeah. That's always your advice, Des, is get them in.
Well,
that's pretty much it.
I compensate myself by knowing, Lee, you've got 51 left. I'd have been long gone. By this point. So, I don't need to have game beyond like the top 200. I'm out of there.
But if anyone's got a spare $1,000 and wants to buy it, it's overlaying. It's overlaying by 26 grand at the moment, so you could still jump in for another half hour, I think.
I'll tell you what, the joy.
Do I have to be impartial in the roller, or can I be Team Shug?
Oh, you can be Team Shug. That's not a problem whatsoever.
Absolutely.
Two reasons. One, because Shug's the one I know best, and he's a nice guy, and also because the chip leader appears to be someone called Peter Warfinger, which just sounds like a Bond villain.
That is a great name.
Peter Warfinger. That's a great name.
That is a great name.
From Sweden, isn't he? Yeah, from Sweden. Yeah. And of course, actually, you're wearing Bluetooth earbuds, aren't you? So obviously, you can anytime you want to go and do a Shug, you just carry straight on.
Don't. You get us in trouble, Lee. Don't say that. Don't remind anyone. That does happen. That does happen. Listen, I love Peter Warfinger. That's it.
Yeah, you'll have to listen back to that one.
Well, listen, as long as he turns the video off, Lee, that's the main thing, right?
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Oh God, really?
No, we don't. We can't go into that. We can't say too much. But you're not the only one with your, with your support for Shug. Danny Strange is there in the chat box. Come on, Lou Brush, take it down. Who else have we got?
Just as you say that, just as Shug doubles up, Ian McGoldrick. Nice.
Oh, well, there we go. That's classic Bocking. Dean Pearson is out there. Liam Pickering is there. Don Logan has joined. Danny, we mentioned Gary McBride is there as well. Gary started the fantasy football competition. We'll have to talk about that briefly. Lee, Alan McBride is there as well. Phil
I'm
Wise.
I'm sure Gary will still be taking entries for that as well, because it's so early on in the
we definitely should talk about that league, by the way, because I may or may not be second. I think I've peaked after like half a game.
Really?
Week.
Wow.
Yeah, we're halfway through game week 1, and this is my absolute peak. So let's talk about that while I can.
Sweet. Did you have the mighty Mo Salah in your team?
Captain.
Oh, really? Wow.
Hat trick on a captain. Fantastic.
Hat trick on a captain. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I only took Vardy out yesterday as well, which was annoying, but there you go. Yeah, it's one of the things that like I've done fantasy football on that for years and years, and I got kind of sick of not doing very well in it. So I've done a bit more research into it this time, and I've got all sorts of geeky spreadsheets of what teams have got a good run in what weeks and all that kind of good stuff. So
oh wow,
right. No, I love it.
Try and give it
I love it.
Yeah.
Gary sent me.
Go on.
I was going to say, Gary sent me a message. He said, do you want to play in the fantasy football thing? And normally I would jump at something like that, but quite a few things going, and I'm constantly frustrated probably as you've been, in that you can't really do fantasy football unless you put a bit of time into it and, really think through who's playing who and all of that good stuff. Didn't think I had it, so I regretfully sort of said no, declined, as it were. But glad to see you're, putting that bit of effort in, because it makes a real difference in terms of the game.
This season it's even worse than normal, though, isn't it? Because you've got the fact that the season started, yet the transfer window hasn't started. I was reading through all the different all the pundits do their predictions and stuff, and the amount of them that are saying, well, it's very difficult to predict the league at the moment whilst the transfer window's open. Because there's the suggestion is, well, if Man City do go and strengthen a little bit more, will Liverpool actually spend any money? Do they have any money? Who knows?
Yeah,
and that is
true.
all going to be because that's how tight it actually really is. I know Liverpool actually romped it last year, but there isn't a huge amount of difference between the two sides.
I think momentum, getting a good start could be key in terms of making a difference.
And you nearly came unstuck yesterday. Great game.
Must have been
a bit nervy, though. For a Liverpool fan, that must have been a bit nervy, because I thought Leeds did very well. Just weren't going to sit back, and they just decided, right, we're going to come and play our game.
I thought
if they do that for the rest of the season, they'll be fine. Yeah.
It's funny, oddly enough, what I took from it was that both teams played a similar sort of game, right? So fair play to Leeds. They came and played toe-to-toe with Liverpool at Anfield. I thought we looked very nervy in defence. But then on the flip side, I thought there was the potential to score every time we got near their back four. So I sort of thought we'd nick it. But obviously it was frustrating getting pulled back 3 times.
Yeah.
Tidy little team, I have to say. I think they might take some points this season. But they will leak a lot of goals. Defensively, they did not look on it.
Yeah. Fantasy football is similar to poker in the sense that anyone can do it, but you maximise your chances by studying it, right? So
that's right.
Similar sort of principle.
Yeah, no, completely.
Yeah, I think the reality is there's I know there's guys out there that take their fantasy football very, very seriously, and if you're playing in any of the leagues where there's prizes up for grabs, they do put a lot of time and effort into.
One of the guys that I follow on Twitter, because he talks a lot about fantasy football, and I've followed some other groups kind of through him, and he doesn't even realise I haven't spoken to him for ages. But you know him better than I do. I think Nick Wright.
Yeah,
Nick, ex-poker player magazine.
Yeah, and Johnny. So he's well into his fantasy football, and he contributes to this thing called Always Cheating, which I follow on Twitter. So I kind of got into that through him, despite the fact that he probably doesn't know that, because I've met him once about 5 years ago. But he's a good guy to follow for all things fantasy football.
No, absolutely.
Three-way all in. Ace
Holy
King
Jesus! All ace kings.
And I think it's it may well all get chopped up, which it does.
There's a great site out there, Paul. I'm sure you've come across it. FantasyFootballScout.com, and it's a subscription site, right? But it's got an amazing amount of resources available and tipsters and all of that sort of good stuff. So if you do really want to get involved in fantasy football, then you need time, but there's plenty of resources out there to enable you to have a good head start on people who don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm in like about 5 different leagues now. So I'm in the APAT one, I'm in the Bluff one, I'm randomly in the Burnley Supporters Club one through someone whose name shall remain, Natalie Bromley.
Not that random.
Didn't really see that coming. Yeah, didn't see that coming. But yeah, I'm top, again. I've got a good start. I'm top 10 out of 220 or something in her league as well. So
wow.
Yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, well, if you've got Salah in first week as your captain, that's always a good starting point.
Yeah, I had Aubameyang as well. Aubameyang got a few points, and I think I've got 3 players still to come tomorrow. So we'll see what happens.
I tell you, the next 2 games for Salah, away to Chelsea and at home to Arsenal. Now, I have to say, I don't know how much difference away and home makes these days, given that there's no crowds there. But 2 toughish games. I'd fancy his chances maybe nicking one against Arsenal. He's got a good record against Arsenal. But Chelsea could be a tough one.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and I've got a few people who can come out. I've got 3 players who didn't play at all this week, so they'll have a double game week coming up fairly soon as well. So I kind of plan a couple of weeks ahead. So but I've set my stall out early doors, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, etc., etc.
Too right. Well, what
Yeah,
tends to
and
happen
say,
is they just lose a lot of players, after the first 4 or 5 weeks. People begin to think, oh God, it's a bit hard, and I don't like the fact that I'm not in the top 500,000 players in the in the county.
Oh yeah,
and they begin to churn a bit.
Wanes very quickly. Yeah, that's very true.
Have has the lower leagues started yet, Paul? Have Walsall played?
Yeah, well, this is part. I'll mention my perfect day yesterday.
Yeah, you did.
I watched 5 football matches yesterday.
5.
I don't want you to think I don't work hard or I don't like pull my weight at home or
Jesus.
whatever, but I did watch 5 football matches in one day yesterday.
Now let me be clear. To watch
yeah.
5 football matches in one day, that sounds like hard work.
But put it this way: the first one kicked off at 8:30 a.m., which was so my youngest plays football, and he plays football for a team where in his age group, the team that he plays for has got 3 teams.
Player of the season, right? Banging the goals in.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a second. Yeah, so the first game I watched, he wasn't even playing in, but it was the other 2 teams playing against each other. So all his mates were there, and it's just around the corner. So he made me get up at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning to go and watch that one first. And it was a great game. It was 3-3, and his best mate scored last-minute equaliser, and so that was all great. And he was dead happy. And then we drive across to Rugby for his game, which was 11:30 kickoff. And his team won 5-2, and he scored his first goal. So he plays as a defender.
Brilliant.
But he scored his first goal and was absolutely bouncing. Absolutely loved it. So so that was fantastic. I then got home and shout out to Gav Howard if he's listening at all. But he's a Walsall season ticket holder, would you believe? But obviously they're not letting you in the ground at the moment. So season ticket holders get a code to watch it for free online on iFollow.
Okay.
So he gave me his code, and so I watched that. Walsall won as well, beat the mighty Grimsby, so we're got a decent start in that. I then watched the Liverpool game because Arlo, my youngest, decided that he humours me by coming to the Walsall games with me, but he tells all his mates he's a Liverpool fan because it's a bit more credible than Walsall. So we watched the Liverpool game, and
good lad Arlo. There's brains in that family, Lee.
Amazing game which Liverpool won, and then I because I hadn't seen enough football that day, I then watched the last game of the day as well, which I can't even remember who it was now. West Ham, wasn't it? West Ham Newcastle. So I watched that one as well. So it was a very busy day of football watching tomorrow.
Wow!
Holy smoke! So I've just looked. Ace has just mentioned. Did anybody see the Marseille versus PSG game? So I've just brought it up on my phone. Oh well, Marseille beat PSG 1-0. Okay, well that's nothing.
Wow.
Just flicked on the details. 5 players sent off in the 90th plus 7th minute.
Wow.
5 players.
That sounds like a 2 a.m. soiree in Birmingham City Centre, like, on disco night or something. 5 players sent off.
3 from PSG, 2 from Marseille, 3 were straight reds, and the other 2 were for second bookings. Wow.
There you go.
That's what you want. That's what you want.
That's incredible.
Bit of drama.
Wow.
See, that's exactly what happened in the under-9s game I watched yesterday. This mass pile on at the end.
I'll tell you what, I turned up for a kids football game once. I think it was under 6s, under 7s, something like that. And both teams had the same kit on. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Your parents on all sides just calling for the wrong players. It was just insane. Anyway, detail. It was a good scrap. Asa said it was a good scrap.
Yeah, that sounds like.
Too right. Yeah, so it's all back.
Repercussions from that, so yeah.
It's all back, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it already. I was a bit stressed yesterday.
Paul, do you think you're likely to get to see the mighty Walsall at any time this season live, or do you think it's it's just not going to happen?
There's a major problem if we can't. So the Walsall chairman came out. We've always kind of, as a club, Walsall have always kind of lived within its means and not spent money that it hasn't got and all the rest of it. So we're in better shape than a lot of them. But even us, he said that if there isn't fans in the door in October, then there's a problem, because all of the financial planning is all very much based on at least some fans back in the stadium in October, and then the rest of them sort of beyond Christmas. So there's a pretty major problem. But again, it feels quite a long way off at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To be honest, though,
I'm not even sure what percentage is a sensible number that you could actually get into a ground at the moment.
And
because
we're not, you know, without wanting to, you know, sort of sound like I'm being down on my own club. You know, we're not a club that ever fills the stadium anyway. So in a capacity of 11,500, you know, average gate is about 5. You know, of which, you know, 4-ish, 4,000 home fans. So you can get, you know, I would have thought the vast majority of the regular fans into the stadium spaced out the way you would need anyway. So
bit of organisation, right?
If you can get them in socially distanced, you're
Yeah.
not losing that many compared to how many we were getting last season. Whereas obviously, you know, there's a very big difference, you know, compared to you know, a full stadium if you're filling it every week. But yeah, so if we can get to that stage in October, then happy days. But you know, the rate's going up again, and we get into the depressing conversation that we've just had. But I'd be pleasantly surprised if it was October. But that's what they're planning for at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen. I mean, yesterday you had the I think it was the first qualifying round, or one of the qualifying rounds for the FA Cup. So I was looking at them. I mean, our local team here, Wimborne Town, played yesterday, and I don't know whether, you know, are all of those teams following? I mean, they can't follow the same sort of protocols that the Premier League teams are following, where they're all in these bubbles and being tested twice a week or anything like that. So if these guys are going and playing, you know, traveling around the country to play these, you know, FA Cup qualifying games and any other non-league game for that matter, how do they? I don't see how they can follow anything that's that strict, because it's going to be, you know, 15, 16, maybe, I don't know, even non-league's probably 20 plus, isn't it, in their kind of like team kind of bubble. How I don't see how they can follow enough guidelines, because they're all going to be close together. They can't social distance.
Yeah, it's a good question.
So,
and it comes down to the testing, doesn't it? Because the only reason that league teams can do it is because they get tested on the way in and the way out.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, where we walk the dogs, we walked past one of the sports fields of the local school, and there was a game last week, and it was obviously some important game, because there must have been about 30 or 40 parents and whatever friends on the touchline watching this game, and then the two squads the other side, and you just thought, well, there's no social distancing going on there, really. They've all turned up to watch a game and just getting on with doing it. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, and whether that's going to be part of the problem with the numbers and the
I think
spike at the moment.
I think a lot's changed in the last week, obviously with the most recent announcement, because I know as far as football is concerned, I think there was a very, very positive move towards getting fans back into the grounds before the end of October. So at Liverpool, for example, they were talking about 12,500 tickets being on sale by the end of October. So maybe starting with 4,000 and going up to 12,500, which is probably 25% of the capacity of Anfield. But of course, you know, that's all completely up in the air now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it only works if fans are prepared to say, okay, you know, you've got to wear masks.
Absolutely.
Going into the ground, and at the ground,
yeah.
that's an absolute stickler. And ideally, if you can get people booking up in sensible group numbers, so 3s and 4s, perhaps in their own social bubble, that means you can actually kind of seat people a bit more practically for getting. But how it really works in all seriousness, I'm not convinced. I think it's just, you've got to take people at face value that they're actually going to stick to the rules, and there's no way you can police it completely. It's no different. You only have to look at the pubs that are supposed to keep records of everybody that's that's coming in and out of the pubs for 21 days, and there's already been far too many instances where basically they've not done that, and therefore they can't track and trace people. So be interesting to see. But,
fun times. Oh, hello. We've got an all in.
And unfortunately, Ian's not going to get there. Had an up and down straight draw on the turn, but no good. So Sylvia adds to her stack, and we're down to 4 in the roller, and we're down to 22 in the squads at the moment. But anyway, Wimborne Town won 3-0, so they're through to the next round of the FA Cup qualifying round. So that's quite
fantastic.
So you guys are commentating on the actual table itself, aren't you? In the client,
Yeah,
rather than
we're just
the
keeping
stream.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you're well ahead of the stream. So I'm watching the stream because I think the audio comes through if I watch it on the laptop that I'm speaking to you on. So I'm about 30 seconds behind from.
That's
from
right. Well, I can keep
about.
I can keep you up to date with what's going on. That's not a problem whatsoever.
Basically, hit Sylvia's hooving up all the chips is what's happening as far as I can make out so far.
Yeah, we don't see Sylv play very much, to be honest. She's played the odd squad game a couple of months back, but first time I think I've seen her playing the roller for a little while. But we normally see Sylvia turn up for things like the Worlds.
Well, she's been off playing some serious poker, Lee, right? I'm sure I've
seen
that Sylvia's had some
really
good steep runs.
And she qualified for the WPT high roller, didn't she? It was like
that's right. 25 grand ticket, right?
25 grand. That was it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's she takes it serious. I mean, I suppose it's she's played a lot of stuff. I'm traveling all over for years and years now. Very good player, and also I think was involved in some training and coaching at one point as well. Maybe still is actually. So
well, we've had a few. I'll tell you what, we've had a few interesting players, rock up for the squads and some of the APAT games. I haven't seen him in a little while now, but Martin Stasco, who finished runner-up in the World Series of Poker main event, he played for many weeks consecutively, Lee, right?
He was playing, he was playing weekly for quite a while, actually, yeah.
We were going to have to ask him, sorry, Martin, are you an amateur? Can you just show us your credentials? Although those are too good.
Well, as why Rob was asking a question on Twitter the other week, wasn't he? What makes an amateur poker player? And he got some very interesting answers from people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the definitive APAT definition of an amateur poker player?
Well, ours has always been quite simple, really. That we don't necessarily define an amateur as such, but we'll define a pro as somebody that earns all of their income from playing poker. So as long as you don't earn all of your income from playing poker, then you're not a professional.
And of course,
that's the way we've always worked it.
So if you're retired and you've got no other, income.
No, I think
that would be a different.
Yeah, I think there's a huge swathe of common sense over it, and we've been very, very lucky, Paul, in that it pleases itself, and the majority of who those you might term as pro players, they don't really have an interest in playing a low buy-in APAT event anyway. So it's never been an issue. Granted, from time to time, online pros have played APAT events. But it's rarely been an issue, and to be honest, there aren't too many of even those guys who've played APAT and found it as soft as perhaps they might have expected. It's just not a profitable sort of endeavor, really.
I think really over the years, it's only been the situations where we've been tied in and working alongside some of the bigger festivals. So things like over in Dublin, the IPO, or in Malta, or when we were in Coventry with the Goliath, and we have to be a bit more flexible then, because it's very difficult when it's very much a standalone APAT event at a venue for the weekend. It's never really an issue. So it's only those bigger ones where we've ever had to question it. But you get this. I mean, Tom Brady will tell you the story of a guy. I can't think where it was. Might be in Malta, and the guys come up to him and said, would I be able to play this event? And Tom said, well, are you a pro? And he said, well, yeah, I am really. And he said, well, unfortunately, it's not really for pros. So the guys walked off. A couple of hours later, Tom's looked up and recognized that guy. He'd gone and got changed into different clothes and a different baseball cap, and then bought in and played anyway.
And you kind of, mate, you still Phil Ivey. You're just in a different.
yeah. And you kind of go, well, do you know what? I mean, if you really want to play that badly, I don't think any of our players are going to have too much of a bother with it. So, but he'd actually taken the time to go and change his clothes, which I thought was fantastic.
That's amazing.
I just thought of that because I've been playing APAT 13 years. As you know, I've never really asked what the definition is. But like you say, it policed itself for the most part.
Yeah. But it's very difficult because we've we pride ourselves on the fact that we've got we've got some really good players that play APAT. Some have gone on to play bigger things and no longer play with us. Others, still play APAT now, but have had some, incredible, results and won some, prestigious, tournaments and on different tours. It's very difficult, isn't it, to say when does anybody become a pro? I mean, we've got some players that have, for whatever reason, have been out of work, so have decided to play poker full time online for a short period of time. Does that make them a pro player? Technically, it does for that period of time, but ultimately, as Des says, it's a little bit of common sense, and it's never really much an issue. And we would never actually we don't want to turn people away, really. That's not what it's about. But at the same time, we wouldn't be able to do what we do if APAT players were turning out to play a tournament and it's full of pros, because then it's just like any other tournament, and that's ultimately not what we want to do. We want to give players a chance to try and learn and develop their game. It's my big bugbear at the moment with a lot of the satellites into some of these bigger stuff online or whatever, is they want to push the recreational poker players and give a story and something to aspire to, but pretty much all of the pros at the moment playing online are hitting every entry level of any satellite tree, because they're looking for the value. And so they're all at home and using their time to pretty much, they're just looking for wherever there's overlays and value, and so you can't even get in at a lower level. It's tough. The satellites are tough because the pros are all hitting everything to try and maximize what they can during lockdown.
Shug's all in. Yeah, that's safe. That's the second time it's doubled up in about 4 hands. So.
I'll tell you what, there's been a ton of action on this final table. It's just not stopping. It's just bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, so we're down to 3 now, and they're fairly even. Sylvia's a little bit of a chip leader, but
yeah, she just lost quite a bit to the Bond villain, who check raised pair and a flush draw, which he just flush on the turn. So that did for about 400.
Just won that hand now, so just shy of $1 million. So with the other two now, Shug on 600k and Peter the Bond villain on 360. So
I don't know if it sounds more like a Bond villain or more like a Marvel villain, Warfinger.
You might be right.
Yeah.
Have either of you ventured to the cinema yet and seen Tenet yet or not?
So
no,
I'm hearing cinema, but not seen
good. No, I'm hearing ridiculously good things about it, and it's one of those. Apparently, you must try and see it in the cinema if you can.
I can't wait.
I've not been brave enough to want to venture to a cinema yet. But Pete Wigglesworth was telling us last week he went 10-pin bowling, Paul.
Really?
Is he
just got a bowling alley in his house?
I don't think so. No. He said what was it Des, you got to where you just wore your own shoes? Yeah, because he was telling us about it last week. So.
I can't remember.
I'm bothered about it. It's sticking my fingers in.
Exactly, big sweaty balls. We talked about it. I tell you. I sort of blocked it out. I just didn't want to look at Peter that way.
Oh God.
But I miss the cinema. I have to say, it is one of the things I miss, the cinema.
Yeah.
Well, they've delayed a lot of stuff, haven't they? Yeah.
My eldest is a very big film fan. So as soon as the cinemas opened, and there weren't any new films out at all, so they're just showing old films. So and one of his favourite ones is Dark Knight. So they were showing The Dark Knight. So I took him to see that, and it was fine. We wore our mask through the communal bit, and then took them off in the seats, and it was okay. But I haven't.
Do they just seat you with? Do they just seat you with the spare seat around?
They space it out, so you can only reserve them in twos, and then there's kind of 2 that they use, and then 2 void, and then 2. So everything's very spaced out. They leave longer between each showing, so they can sanitize the whole cinema in between each showing. But
I just wonder how long they can do that for, because they can't possibly make much money.
I mean, there was hardly anyone in there when we went, but that was because it was an old film. So I imagine for Tenet and
Yeah.
Bill and Ted and all the other new films that are out. I imagine that they're doing quite well.
But it makes
and
you
I-
wonder how long it's going to be before they're going to have to put prices up or adjust what they do. Interesting. I was listening to somebody this morning. They're starting to do a couple of theatre things. A couple
Right.
of the theatres are going to open up, and the question was put to her saying, well, are you going to have to put your prices up because of whatever? And she said, no, we're going to keep our prices as it normally would be, but we don't expect to make any money. But we just want to get back open and and start putting on performances. But
the other thing,
how long you can do that for, I don't know.
the other thing that's popping up everywhere is drive-in cinemas, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that.
Have you got any of them near you? I mean, we've got like 3 or 4 around by me. We haven't been to.
Yeah,
any
there's
of
one
them.
down near Bournemouth Airport, actually, at one of the fields down there that they've been doing this. I don't know how long they were going. They were during the summer, I think.
Which kind of makes sense if you got a convertible, but like if you, I don't really know how that would work.
But they're not really designed for it, because like back in the day, well, certainly in America, if you looking at the films and stuff, they were designed that you kind of drove up at a bit of an angle, didn't you? So then you could actually look up at the screen. Whereas if you're just in a field that's flat, it doesn't quite work, does it? Really?
Oh, you can see the top of the film, can't you?
yeah.
Times are tough, Lee. Times are tough. Half price tickets.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, stick up, open your sunroof and stand out.
That's right.
Well, there was a festival in, it might be Newcastle, and so a music festival, and they basically you had a little kind of 2 meter by 2 meter square scaffolding kind of thing with your own little step to get up into it, and that was your space, and they were all marked out throughout this field. So they had like 500 of these things.
I saw that.
And you basically. Yeah, and you basically rented one of those as Silver and Shug are all in, Ace King for Silv and Ace 7 for Shug.
Blimey, they're going to split that.
And it's gone. They're going to split it with a Queen Jack. So they'll split that up. Yeah, so that was. I don't know how successful that was, but I guess you've got to look at these things and try and make it work. But it'd be interesting to see how long cinemas can last if they're not making. Getting the volume in, because that's a proper volume business, isn't it? You need to get people through the door and your screens filled to be able to be profitable.
Yeah, you also need to be able to
hope
sell
that
them.
people pick a mix.
Exactly. Yeah, so selling £4 bags of Maltesers at the same time, which they also weren't doing over there. So they can't be making a lot of money at the minute.
No, and it'd be interesting to see how long they can get away with doing that. I know in the hotel industry, there's a number of just mothballing certain venues for 12 months, just pretty much locked the doors up, boarded up, and literally got one person left on site to manage it for a year, and because they know they won't be able to make any money out of it for the next year. So there's a number of the chains are looking at their venues and deciding what they want to open and not, which is sad, because it means obviously there's going to be a lot of people out of work on the back of that.
Mm-hmm.
Sad. That is very sad. We are somewhat screwed, aren't we?
So Tom Banks says they make most of their money on hot dogs and popcorn. So,
yeah, I mean, it's huge margin, isn't it? The prices they charge.
Ridiculous. Yeah,
and consumed in some volume. You don't go into the cinema without kit from the concessions.
Oh, and Ace is just saying so the on the PSG thing as well. Apparently, Di Maria spat at somebody as well, and it was missed by VAR. So,
wow,
dear, oh dear, that sounds like that all ended pretty nastily.
I'll tell you what, with Harry Maguire, and then Mason Greenwood, and now Di Maria. I mean, it's been a bad week for sort of Man United associated players, hasn't it?
Well, they've properly had a go at Greenwood, haven't they? I mean,
I feel from a bit, because he seems like a good kid.
It feels like it's proper open season on him.
But listen, those two lads,
story they're doing,
Lee. I know they're only young lads, but they were properly set up by those girls, right? Those girls, basically targeted them from 3 days out. They knew exactly what the plan was. Yeah.
And naive is the right word for it. And they'll learn a lesson from it. But if you read any of the stuff in the in the press about it, it was you just read the story and you kind of go, really? And they come across as being completely, they didn't know anything, or they were in lockdown and all this kind of thing. You think, yeah, right, okay, but
yet they're
I mean,
making
but
videos and taking pictures
yeah,
all over the place.
Yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they'll have made a nice chunk of money out of it. But the guys were stupid. That's just, so you've got to be better than that.
Yeah.
So,
what do you make of the Harry Maguire thing, Lee? Oh,
well, again, it's another one whereby, he's obviously Greek law is what it is, and it sounds like he's not had a fair trial to start with, and they pretty much just you bang to rights, done and dusted, and you don't have a chance. The minute you actually appeal it, then effectively you're back to being innocent again. So at the moment, he's technically innocent. Obviously, I don't know whether you watched his interview with the BBC where he kind of explained his side of the story, and that all seemed fairly genuine, and everyone says that he's not that type of guy. He's not the type of player that goes around saying, "Do you know who I am?" and and all this kind of thing. So it sounds like, yes, they've tried to rush it through, and obviously he'll now get a fair chance. But they reckon it's going to be a year before his appeal could go through.
Wow.
Which just seems absolutely ridiculous, that's left hanging over his head for a year. But he seems like the sort of professional that he'll just, if he genuinely believes he's not done anything wrong, then I think he'll just get on with playing his football and deal with it when it comes up and needs to be dealt with. But it's a weird one, that sort of thing can get pushed through. I mean, it was what, 2 days, and pretty much done. Quick. Suspended sentence. Yeah, suspended sentence. And they only gave, which is standard, that they only give the defense the kind of the pack of whatever they've got in the way of witnesses or whatever. They gave it to him the day before or the night before or something like that, so they didn't have a chance to check any of it. And it sounds like it's one person's word against somebody else's. But he seems pretty traumatized. But I hope it doesn't affect his him for the season. But again, it just begs, a lot of people are asking the question, well, as a footballer, if you're a high profile footballer, can you afford to take any chances when you're out in public anymore?
Well,
really?
There might be better places to go to. They're a little lower profile, perhaps a little lower key, maybe. I know you shouldn't have to have your freedoms curtailed, but when you are a celebrity, it's difficult to be walking down the streets of some of these islands where there are literally hundreds of holidaymakers, many of whom are football fans, and the way it is with football, right? You're going to get Liverpool fans or City fans.
It's also quite hard to keep a low profile with a head that big, isn't it?
Well, as Tom Banks says, he said if you saw someone doing something like that to your sister or whatever on a night out, you'd lose it. You certainly would react or would try and be very protective. Again, it feels like to a certain extent they knew. This is the problem: is you don't know who you're dealing with, and the chances are they know who you are as a footballer. In the same way we're talking about Foden and Greenwood, they know exactly who these people are. But it's quite sad. It's quite sad if it gets to the point where a footballer can't be out in public and meet fans and be one of the kind of one of the guys, because that's ultimately where it's going, and then they're just going to be at a distance. I
think there are places when you absolutely can, and it's good and healthy, but I think on an island where there's a lot of maybe drink involved and holidaymakers and nobody's of any fixed abode, as it were, it's a little higher risk if you are a celeb, right? It might not be the wrong thing to do, but you're probably more likely to end up in some sort of scrape just because of those variables, as it were. But
and of course, anywhere you go these days, everybody's got a camera on their phones, so everything's being videoed or phones taken, pictures taken. That's what it is.
So Ace is making the point that Tom made, if anything happened to my sister, I'd protect her first and foremost. Absolutely agree with that. But of course, as Maguire's story evolved, when he thought perhaps it was a kidnapping, he jumped out of the van and ran away. Is that right? And he left the others there with the kidnappers.
Yeah, that's
Which might be the sensible thing to do, oddly enough, but it doesn't. Because there was only two. There was only two of them. I think that they'd taken. I think the others were all in a group together
at that point. So it was only the two of them they'd taken. But yeah, he's in his interview, he suggested, they were kicking him and kicking his legs and saying, you won't play football again, and all this kind of thing. Now, it doesn't feel like something that he would make up, but clearly he was in fear for his life, let alone his career. If that is all genuine, and again, I've got no reason.
Who has he left in the van then? Who were the two that he's left in the van?
Well, no.
And I know I'm laughing, and it's unfair, but tell me one of them isn't his sister.
No, but there was a group of them. So there was two. I think two of the guys. I think it was him and his either his brother or not his brother, but there was two guys. I think they kind of took to one side, and the rest of the group, because there was about, I don't know, 6 or 8 of them or something that were out together. So they were all together. So yeah, it was a situation of like, that's, they were as safe as they were going to be, and he was, but if what was he's described in that interview is what is closer to what happened, I mean, that's frightening. That he's been targeted for whatever reason allegedly by police.
I suppose the interesting thing here is, how does he end up proving his case? Because surely if it's his word against the police, providing from a process point of view, they weren't somewhere that they weren't meant to be or something like that, so it looked like a setup, it's going to be hard for him to prove it, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's going to be and especially if you're actually having to prove it against potentially police, if they were
that's
police.
A nightmare scenario.
I mean, where it's going to likely to end up is, I would imagine, probably they'll gather evidence, they'll put evidence there, and the case will get dropped. I would imagine that's where this will end up. This will end up with the case getting dropped, and everyone probably just walking away and going, right, that's that.
I'd be surprised unless some sort of money passes hand somewhere, because it's going to be quite a big case for the Greek police now, right? Or the island police. They're going to be they're going to look really badly. It's going to look bad for them if they drop the case.
Yeah, but Des, I often ask, what do you know? I mean, on the show last week, you said you didn't think De Bruyne was a shoo-in for Player of the Year. And there we go. So
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I don't know anything.
Great, yeah.
I don't know anything. I mean, I look, Harry Maguire always crossed me as a nice sort of guy, right? So I got no issues with Harry Maguire at all. I think he's between a rock and a hard place here. That's what it sort of feels like.
Oh yeah, it's a bit of a shocker from his point. Just looking at that as Peter knocks out Sylv, so we're heads up. Shug versus Peter. Yeah, so Sylvia finishes in third. Tom Banks just says he should just be thankful it wasn't Turkey. Midnight Express, anyone?
Oof, suits you, sir.
Oh dear. Yeah. Oh dear. So heads up in the roller. So
go on, Shug.
Where are we now? $295 for second, 443 for up top. Peter does have pretty much a 3-1 chip lead on Shug, but Shug wins the first one. So yeah, so through all of this then, Paul, you've ventured out to play some live cash.
I'm not saying I was desperate to play live poker, but I was at the Grosvenor at 6:58 ahead of a 7 p.m. opening time on the first day that they reopened.
That was AM, folks.
Yeah, I was still there from the previous night. Yeah, queuing up outside the door. So I've been to for the Rico, to the Grosvenor in Coventry 3 times now, the last 3 Thursdays. And yeah, it's okay. It's actually worse for the dealers than the players, I think, because like the first time I went, so obviously the way it's set up is, it's cash games only. It's 7 max. It's screens up in between each of the seats. The dealer button is a bottle of sanitizer, which is quite a nice touch.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really good, actually. I like that. Yeah.
And although it's not compulsory for you to use it every time you're on the button, you will be ostracized if you don't. So
was that just genuinely the players just were like, you need to be seen to be doing that? Okay.
Yeah, we just did. I mean, literally, like, no one told us that we were supposed to or whatever, but everyone just kind of naturally did. And it's been a bit different, actually, because I think people have got a bit relaxed even just over the last couple of weeks. So when I first went, which was 2.5 weeks ago now, the first day they opened, everyone was in masks the whole time. Everyone was very, very careful. And then, I went last Thursday and people were in masks around the casino, but then when they were sat at the poker table, because they were surrounded by the screens, they took the masks off and no one seemed to mind. So, people have got a bit sort of relaxed with it just in the last couple of weeks.
But they haven't, the rules are you don't have to wear masks when you're at the poker table. That's your choice, I presume.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. They make you, so to get into the casino in the first place, you have to show that you've got one. And they'll sell you one if you haven't got one. But then when you're sat at the poker table, because they've got the screens, and every time a seat is vacated, it's the seat is wiped down, the screens are wiped down the same every dealer push. So
have they got a dedicated member of staff that's just there waiting to clean the tables? Is that?
I mean, yeah, they've so the card room manager at that time does that. And we're not talking about hundreds of tables being open. So 2 weeks ago there was one table. The following week, there was only one table as well, even though there was enough players for two, because they only had one dealer down there. I saw the Tom Bacon was there, so he and I killed some time together while
well, here we go, guys.
For the table to open.
It's kings against nines. Shug needs to hit,
and he's not going to be any good.
Oh, it's Mr. Warfinger.
Warfinger's going to win it. Well played to Shug, though. Second place for $295. So great stuff for him. Well done.
Good work, Shug. And well played, Peter, as well, of course. It wasn't medals won this, was it?
No.
So
we're just getting the squads up, guys, as you just finish off talking.
So
about
I mean, so it's okay. The problem that we had on the first one when everyone was wearing masks is that the dealer couldn't hear what anyone was saying, so that they had to repeat themselves several times. And there were some players there who English wasn't their first language, so it was difficult enough already. So communication-wise, there was a bit of a problem the first time when everyone was wearing masks at the table. But since then, the last couple of times I've been, that's not been the case. But it's just live 1-1 hold and cash, which wouldn't normally get me all that excited, but it's literally the only live poker that's on offer at the moment. So I've been the last few Thursdays in a row.
And is the casino busy in general? For the other games, or is it a bit of a ghost town?
I don't know. I don't look like at the weekend. On a Thursday night, it's pretty quiet, but it kind of is anyway. At the weekends, apparently it has been a lot busier. They've been getting plenty of people through the door. The bars are open, but the restaurants not, I think, is the way it works. I think they'll serve you food at the table. So the kitchen is open, but you can't sit in the restaurant in the way that you normally would, I don't think. So it's for all intents and purposes, it's operating, but with a limited capacity. They've still got some people on furlough. I was talking to Cal there sort of a week and a half ago, and the reason they only had one table open at the time is that they still had people on furlough, so they were working with a limited number of dealers. So it's kind of it's a bit of a soft launch, but it's better than nothing, right?
I mean, do you see what they've got set up for the cash games being able to transition into any sort of tournament poker, or do you think ultimately tournament poker is going to be a no at the moment?
I can see the difficulty certainly, because I mean you're literally spending 5 minutes every time anyone moves. You get to the latter stages of tournaments when you're closing tables. It's and moving people around all the time. That's going to be problematic. Quite apart from how many staff they need in to deal them and run them. So I can see why they're not run well. Plus the fact that obviously they make the money out of cash tables rather than tournaments. So if they're going to open any kind of poker, it'll be the one that brings in some revenue. So I if I was running the card room, I don't think I'd be running tournaments yet either, unfortunately. If anyone knows anywhere that is running tournaments live in the UK at the moment, let me know. But
I don't. Well, no, I don't think there is. Interestingly, we tend to gauge what's going on a little bit from what Rob's doing or not doing at Dusk Till Dawn, to be honest. And he put a little video up probably about 2 weeks ago, where he'd gone for a trip to check out a couple of the casinos that were open in Nottingham, and his general vibe, I think, was very much one of, that's not for me at the moment. I don't really, he didn't feel ready to be opening the doors to Dusty, and even to play, for any sort of cash at the moment.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Obviously, there are in other countries. I mean, there's been not just small tournaments. There's been some pretty big festivals. I mean, Kings have had stuff going on, Des, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've had stuff going on for the longest time, but last weekend, I'm not sure if it was the first major festival that they had, but they had a 500 runner tournament going on, and they numerous side events going on at the same time. No separators, no masks, nothing. It seemed to be business as usual, very much there. I saw some pictures. And of course, there was juicy cash games and live streams and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so they seem to be just, we'll just crack on and and worry about it if anything happens. But
where was that? Did you say, Dave?
That was in Kings. In
Kings in Rodsworth, yeah.
Yeah. You're just thinking, can I get to the Czech Republic anytime soon? Sounds better than
that's pretty much what
Macedonia.
What Pete was thinking last week, wasn't it? When he was trying to work out where he could get to.
It was.
Yeah, he's like, could I? And obviously, I mean, Vegas seems to be, Vegas just seems to be doing its own thing. But I suppose you could argue the States pretty much is just doing its own thing as well at the moment. We're not quite sure whether it just seems to be on. I spend a lot of time.
We're not going to go there.
I spend a lot of time wishing I was in Vegas, and I don't really relish being there at the moment, to be honest.
No, there's enough. There's enough going on next door as well, let alone what's going on in the States in general. But yeah, I mean, even when Vegas opened back up after they had their lockdown period, I mean, some of the videos there was just, it was most bizarre. When you can see, you've got in some of the casinos, they've still got some of the kind of girls dancing up above the tables in PPE. You're kind of thinking this is all a bit mad.
Wearing a mask and nothing else. That's genius.
Yeah.
Hold on, am I upside down or is she?
Yeah. It's just
Tough one, isn't it?
So Tom Banks said it's heads up only in Bolton, apparently.
I'll pass.
Yeah. WPT heads up tournament this week, Des. Midweek.
Is it? Are we in, Lee? Are we in? Did we get tickets for that?
I
don't think so.
Did you not get your tickets?
No. I did get an invite for the WPT stud tournament. That's on Tuesday.
Did you really?
Yeah, I'm in there. I'm on the table with Andy Black. The draw's already been made.
Excellent stuff. Oh, you'll enjoy that. That'll be good fun. I'm sure it.
Haven't spoken to him in a while. Actually, need to call him back.
No. Exactly. The WP. So WPT. They've got 2 more events after the main finish. So heads up is during the week, and then I think it's the turbo next weekend.
Well, I won one of your heads up comps, so I can't imagine the WPT will be that much harder, would it? No,
so if you've got a spare, so you've got 3 buy-ins,
flicking 50 grand or whatever it is.
Oh, it's so it's $33 or $320 or $3,200. So they're the 3 levels that you can play a heads-up tournament.
Okay.
So, and if you want a bit of hey, and if you want a bit of practice, you can flick into the APAT one on a Tuesday for $11 and get a bit of practice.
That's right, or vice versa.
Well, exactly, yes. How you see it. So let me give you an update on where we are at with squads, because unfortunately Bill Shepherd was our bubble boy for the cash tonight.
The Ackies, right?
We're down to 12 now. So Purple Ackies are top of the tree at the moment. They've still got Dylan Herbert in. They are on 702 points. Eat My Stack are in second, but they're all done for the night. The Four Nations have Steve Healy, Adelaide Bull, still going for them. They're about 70 points off Purple Ackies, so I think that's the one to look out for.
Doable.
Lockdown Crew in 4th, they're all done. JFS in 5th, they're all done. Wild cards have got no. Actually, Bode's not playing tonight, so they're all done. So pretty much this is it. It's Steve Healy looking to pick up another 70 points on Dylan Herbert with 11 players left. And as far as the MVP goes, Dylan is top of that with 348 points. However, only 48 points behind is Shane O'Connor, who's currently chip leader, a massive chip leader with 11 players left. And I think he's the only one that can catch Dylan. So he needs to make up 48 points on Dylan. So they are the two stories going into the final two tables of squads.
So it looks to me, Lee, as if Dylan holds the key to all of this. He and his 551,000 chips. He's on table 6. That is the table we've got up. He's got Igor on his right. He's got Charlie Kearns on his left. Evgeny and Naz on the same table as him. So if Dylan hangs on to his chips for long enough, he's going to take all of the glory.
Yeah, but say the big chip leader is on the other table at the moment, which is Shane O'Connor, who's just all in now with 6s versus 9-5, and Peter Monroe did turn his flush, but the 6 of diamonds on the turn also gave Shane a full house, so he busts Peter Monroe in 11th place and adds to his stack.
He's got 3.2 million chips. Wow.
Yeah, it's
he's in good shape.
It's not bad, not bad at all. Must admit. So, will you carry on playing live cash then, Paul? You're quite comfortable with the setup they've got there and what they're doing. So
I'll keep playing it as long as they keep running it. As long as there's precautions being taken by them and by me, I'm reasonably comfortable doing it. I think it's I think I'm probably the one out of the 4 of us in our family that's probably at the least risk, given that they're all in school and college most of the week. So I think playing on a Thursday night, which seems to have become my poker night, is probably going to carry on for a while. And it's for a 1-1 cash game, it's a reasonable game down there. It's
and I think the setup they've got there in Coventry is pretty much is the setup they've got in Coventry is pretty much the same as they've got at most of their venues that they've got reopened.
I think it's standard Grosvenor format at the moment. I don't know how big the games get at the Vic in particular, but everywhere else I think it's sort of fairly standard for what Grosvenor are doing nationwide.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately with Genting pretty much backing out of live poker. It does start to limit people's choices, even if we came out of this lockdown and things returned to some sort of normality. We know Grosvenor weren't massively pushing tournaments in the UK. It does limit what players can actually do. I mean, it feels like there's an opportunity out there for somebody to look to have something on that's a bit more regular in the UK.
Yeah, but we're not too bad in the Midlands because we've got not just the other Grosvenors basically. So we've got Hill Street, got Walsall obviously. So they're not that far up the motorway for me if there's nothing happening in Coventry. But the nationwide it's limited people's options a little bit more. Yeah, you're right. Which is why we need things like APAT and poker squads and all these other tournaments that you've been running. Which sounds like I'm joking, but actually I'm completely serious. You two don't need me blowing smoke up your ass. It's been a fantastic program that's been running over the summer. That's and in peak lockdown period especially, it was just to have the team events and and the stirred and the medal events and all the rest of it was fantastic. So thanks again for putting it all on.
Oh,
very kind.
It's what we do, yeah. But it's it's hopefully. I mean, Des and I were talking earlier on in the week. We were kind of saying, well, do we think we're going to go into another more serious lockdown period and whatnot? Because you just don't know at the moment, do you? It's we know that numbers have kind of leveled off as players have gone back to work and doing other things or other commitments, and as we've just very quickly hit a final table here on squads. So
as we lose the table,
I was going to say we'll get that one up. That happened quite quickly, and it's actually Steve Healy that bust in. Steve Healy bust in 10th, which pretty much I think is going to mean we may already, as we've hit this final table, have a lock for the team event and and the MVP, I think possibly. Oh no, actually no, we went with MVP because Shane's still in with the shout, isn't he? So but I think Steve busting there means I don't think anyone's going to be able to catch purple Ackies. Means we've got to get him some more tokens, Des. I don't know what they're going to do with all these tokens. Steve, Andy, Steve, and the guys, they've had a cracking month or so.
They've had a purple
weeks.
period.
They've. I think they've probably won this now. That's like that could be their fifth, maybe the sixth win. Very, very impressive. That's for sure. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Whether with coming into the kind of the autumn and winter months now, sort of evenings are getting darker. There's less other things to do. Whether people will then start picking up and playing a bit more poker again. We expected it to drop off a little bit. I think that's just inevitable. And I also think it's been a summer of as you alluded to earlier on, Paul. Obviously you've been working, but it's been wall to wall poker and some good quality stuff with winning World Series bracelets and obviously the W Coupe that started now and the WPT that's about to finish and it's not going to end because they seem to just be announcing more stuff. I've had people messaging me the past few weeks asking about our worlds and we're hoping to get something announced shortly. We're just in discussions with the guys party as to structures and schedules and what we can do. So as soon as we know, we'll let you all know as well. But it doesn't seem like it's going to end. For the rest of the year, I can only see the other big players all throwing more stuff out there. I think that's the way it's going to go.
You've got a fairly captive audience at the moment, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's whether there's going to be a burnout thing. That's the problem. I mean, Patrick Leonard suggested this a couple of months back that he was concerned that players would just kind of a combination of just get tired of playing so much poker but more importantly a financial impact of whether people have a bankroll to be playing the sort of amounts they're playing. You can't even the pros if there's that much poker out there that you can play and you go on a bad run, I wonder how long it takes before you get yourself into a bit of a hole. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a less than zero sum game, isn't it? So the more poker there is, the less money there is in the overall poker community. If you're Patrick Leonard, you probably do all right, but the rest of us, it's probably drowning a little bit in all the options that are out there at the moment online at least.
Yeah, I'm not sure when has the World Series online finished yet, Des? I think
that's done. The main event certainly was done last weekend. I think. Whether there are some additional events, I think there were some additional events, but I haven't heard that much about it this week.
It did very much just feel very much like kind of another wins World Series mate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? But,
I think
Shane's all in against Ray here.
Big moment.
Sixes versus deuces, and Shane's going to win that. Ray, quick shout out to Ray Daniel. He's only joined up with APAT in the past week or two and posted a few bits up on Facebook, but really positive stuff. So
I saw he was really pleased to be playing.
APAT.
And he's looking for a squad. Is that right, Lee?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. He's looking to get involved in the squads, maybe as part of a team. He's just played individually this week just to kind of get a feel for it. But
decent player there, captains. Made the final table of the deep stack. If you need an extra player for your team, look him up on Facebook in the group. He does have a post up there. But Lee, the whole World Series, although I think they've probably done a staggering amounts of numbers, in terms of the number of players and the amount of prize money. I'm sure everybody would be, pretty darn happy with that. It doesn't feel, to me, it doesn't feel in any way like the World Series that I would have, followed in the past. Now, granted, it's online as opposed to live. It's not in Vegas and all of that good stuff, of course. But I typically follow the World Series online, right, through the likes of Poker News or, little videos here and there and stuff like that. Didn't do any of that this year. Didn't do any of it. Now, I know it wasn't updated in the same way, but I just, I couldn't engage with what just seemed to be another set of poker tournaments.
No, and the guys did a good job of obviously updating the results. But I just
didn't look at a one, Lee. Didn't look at a one.
No, it's not. It's just not the same. I agree with you. It's it doesn't have that same feel about it. I mean, what will be interesting? I don't know interesting to know what Paul's take is on this. I mean, we're saying that we don't think much is going to change, this calendar year. Well, then we're only 6 months off when the World Series would start for 2021, and I don't see anything, and unless a vaccine appears, I don't see us being in much of a different situation.
It's coming. It's scheduled to land on November the 2nd. The vaccine. It's going to make America great again. I'm telling you now.
Oh, fantastic. Will it also build the rest of the wall? Is that the plan?
Only 30 feet has actually been built, but the wall is nearly completed.
Did you caught any of the
on November the 1st to make sure that people have got that news before they head to the polls? That's the way it works.
Did you catch any of the Sue Perkins program that was on been on the past few nights, I think?
No.
About she pretty much did kind of the whole thing, the border crossing between Mexico and the US and the wall and traveling up and down it and all that kind of thing, and fascinating.
I quite like to have seen that. Where was that,
really
Lee?
Going on? Yeah, it's on BBC, so it'll be on
iPlayer. Yeah, I will find that. I do like that sort of stuff.
Sorry, I've got Jess chatting to me in the background now.
Hello, Jess. Say hello from the boys, Lee.
Yeah.
Jess has got a big thing for Sue Perkins.
Who are you talking to?
Just one mention of Sue Perkins, and the dog just goes off on them.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was quite interesting how it's saying it's giving it a few truths about what it's all about, and actually the people that live there and some of the wall that they put up, the people that live there on the farm.
Yeah, no, I did see some of this. I saw some of that.
Just we're kind of going.
Does that town just the other side, just on the Mexican side of the border, and they've got like Mola City or something, don't they? Because they can
the dentist,
really cheap dental care. So loads and loads of Americans go across the border to go and get their teeth fixed on the cheap. You've
got this one bit of the wall where basically they go, well, it's obviously it's supposed to be impregnable wall, but basically a ladder and a bit of rope.
Corrugated iron
gets you over it. Yeah, pretty much gets you over it. So no need to worry about it. But and they said say that people are still. I mean, the numbers. I think the guy was saying the bit land the farmland that he's worked on. I'm sure he said some figure like they've arrested 150,000 people on his land.
Were they going from America into Mexico?
Yeah.
Because frankly, that's the direction I'd be taking at the moment.
Yeah, it's quite scary, but it's well worth a look up if you can get to do. And have you managed to catch any of the Tottenham stuff yet? Have you watched any of it?
No, I haven't got there yet.
Oh, you see, you've got to do that, and because still, honestly, Harry Kane's team talks on.
Oh well, I've seen one of Harry's. I have commented on that. I did find that quite amusing, and I've heard little dispatches here and there. I heard that. Mourinho is very much the star of the show, but unfortunately there is no physical star in the show. There's no trophies or anything like that. I've heard that Levy is a bit like David Brent. And that I'm quite looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. And actually the three that they released this week, there's a great bit there. Because obviously we all kind of know a little bit about what went on with Danny Rose, and then he went on loan to Newcastle. But the bit where he goes into Jose's office and has a conversation with him is, that's the stuff that you want to watch, because that absolutely you'd hope that's the sort of thing that goes on, but you never know whether it really does. And I don't think it was just done for cameras. I think that genuinely is the kind of conversation that went on. So interesting.
Well, you have this thing in your mind of a player going into Mourinho and being very timid and sort of just not speaking unless he's spoken to and that sort of stuff. I'm surprised Danny Rose didn't put his leg up on the sort of arm of the seat he was on and sort of, come on, boss, pick me. Let's do it.
Yeah. what was I think his comment was something like, "Look, I'm the best left back in the club, so I don't know why you're not playing me. Do you not like me?"
He said, well, and there's other players who were shit in training, and you're picking them every week.
Yeah,
it was golden.
But
golden.
What I really liked about that, because they were talking about he picked him for the Liverpool game and he didn't have a very good game against Liverpool, and he said no, I admit I didn't have a very good game against Liverpool. He said, but if you're going to play me once every 4 weeks, how can you what do you expect? You expecting me to be man of the match? Once every 4 weeks,
and then put him up against Mohamed Salah, right?
Yeah. I thought, well, actually, that's a fairly sensible conversation to be having. It's
too right.
And Jose doesn't really have an answer to that, does he? So it's really good. But I've enjoyed all of those. I mean, the Man City one is, as we said last week, is excellent.
That was fantastic. So, yeah, I've got a slight technical problem, Lee. I've lost what I like to call affectionately the long remote control. So I know it's in the sitting room somewhere, but I haven't yet been able to locate it. And it is the one with the Prime button on it, right? You press that button, a couple of flicks, and you're into Prime. So, I haven't watched a bit of Prime now for about 3 or 4 weeks. We'll have to fix that.
Well, as we always say when we're on the, talking TV, if anyone's got anything that they recommend, whether it be Netflix or Prime or Sky or whatever that they would recommend, let us know, because we always we've spotted some absolute gems actually over the past few months that people have recommended on here that I hadn't even aware of. There's so much out there, it's very difficult to track it all down, as Paul was saying earlier on, with the little new stuff out in the way of kind of films and stuff. It's finding all the other things and what they're doing with it. I mean, I think I said to you last week about I watched The Blacklist, and they kind of that came to a conclusion last week's episode, where they kind of animated up the bits that they were missing that they couldn't film, because they literally stopped filming that episode halfway through, and they'd already filmed some bits. So basically, they computer animated up the scenes that they were missing, voiced them over, and then knitted it all together for the sort of last half hour of the show. And that was the season finale, and that was it.
I tell you what, I did something that I have never done before. I was watching Ozark maybe a year or 2 years ago, and I watched most of the first season, sort of fell out of love with it, missed it for a few weeks and decided not to go back. And then from time to time, I'd be going through the old planner, and, it would be there, and I'd say, no, I can't go there. But they finished the 3rd season now, and over the last couple of months, several people have written, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, Ozark, that's one of the things you have to watch. It's absolutely amazing, the 3rd season. So I went back and picked up at the end of season 1, loved it. Yeah, finished the whole thing.
Yeah, Ozark's really
absolutely
good.
Brilliant. Loved it.
I've just started watching. Mindhunters, which is I've got through season 1 at the moment. So that's on Netflix. So
if you like your Christopher Nolan style, mess about with time type things, have you seen Dark on Netflix? It's just called Dark. It's a German thing. They've just released season 3 of it.
I'm sure I have. Remind me.
It's not like a fun Saturday night popcorn, leave your brain at the door type thing. It's like you borderline have to take notes. It's seriously, it's one of them. But if you can stick with it,
is this the one that goes?
First, it was really good. Second one was kind of it kind of did my head in a little bit, but I just started watching the 3rd one. So
is this the one that goes back and forward in time?
Yeah. Several times.
That was really good. That was really good. Yeah, it's generational.
It's a German language one. Watch it with the subtitles.
Yeah. That was really good. Really enjoyed that. I mean, it was freaked. Yeah. It was absolutely mad, but it was enjoyable at the same time.
Well, if you want mad on Netflix, then watch Love, Death and Robots. Have you seen that? No. That really is mad. So that's a series of 18, I think. Animated shorts, all completely independently of each other, all that feature love or sex at some point. They range from sort of 5 to 20 minutes each, and they are, there's no other way to describe, they are fucked up. they They are absolutely nuts, and some of them are brilliant, and some of them are awful. But you
Yeah.
should watch them all anyway, and just make your own mind up.
Bit of hit and miss. Ace
So,
is saying,
yeah.
yeah, he's saying, you know, my next guest needs no introduction, but David Letterman, I've seen a few of these. You know, an interview thing on a stage, no frills. It is really good. That's on Netflix as well.
So Shane's just knocked out Igor Kings and tens. So Shane is got well over half the chips in play now as we're 5-handed.
I guess the problem for Shane Lee is that Dylan still has chips.
He does, and he needs to make up.
You said what, 40 or 50 points? Yeah.
40, let's have a look how much it is. It's 40. It's 47.53 points he needs to make up. So let's work out whether.
Whether he's...
Oh, actually, do you know a win? If Dylan finished second, a win wouldn't be enough.
Yeah,
it'd be a couple of points short. So basically, at the moment, Shane needs to win this and get Dylan knocked out in third, fourth, or fifth.
That'll be an interesting dynamic.
We'll work out any other. Yeah, we'll work out any other combination of that depending on what happens. But yeah, he needs, if he wants to go for the win, Shane, he needs to probably look to get rid of Dylan sooner rather than later. Dylan's got the team element locked up for Purple Ackies, so that's going to be done. So. That's for sure, as we're 5-handed now. Trouble is, there's too much to watch, isn't it? He's trying to keep track of everything that you've kind of started watching or not watching. As you say, when someone recommends something, you kind of go, just remind me what's that about again, just in case, because I may have started watching it at some point somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I have a note in my notes app. That's the only way I can do it. You know, if I see an advert and I think, I got to watch that, I got to make a note of it.
But do you know what? It's right, and I wish something like I don't know, somebody like IMDb, for example, would build something like that into what they do, because some of the sites are really good. Netflix is brilliant, knowing what you've watched and and when you're picking up on stuff. Other things like Now TV, for example,
Sky horrendous
service is it's awful. Yeah, trying to pick up whether you watch. I've watched stuff before. God, that looks good. And then I've watched this before. So why is it not told me I've watched it before? Crikey, 3-way all in. Evgeny with ace deuce, 9s for Dylan, jacks for Charlie.
Spades, anyone? No spades.
Yeah, no spades out there at all.
Holy crikey!
So they all get a little bit back. But that's a bit of a dent for Dylan. That's for sure. Yeah. But it is frustrating because you can't. It'd be great if somebody created something where you could log everything that you'd watched and you knew where you were.
Absolutely.
With things.
I tell you one feature that I really like on IMDb, and that is if you go into the app on your iPad. You know, if you and I tend to watch a lot of these things on my iPad. You can go to like the top movies, ranks, and stuff like that. And a lot of them now have Prime links. So you literally just go to the rankings, you go to movie number 7, click the link, boom, the movie's on. It's insanely good. Yeah.
And Shane's all in with 10s. And as long as he avoids a jack, which he does, we're going to lose Evgeny in 5th place. And Shane adds to his stack now 5.2 million. The rest of the guys have got about 3 million between them. So... massive. Shane's just come into the chat going, I'm on it, lads.
Yeah, Dylan won't be easily parted from those chips.
Yeah, no, you've got to be careful with some of the streaming sites, because some of them will actually charge you for watching a movie. And actually, if you just do a little bit of search, you'll find that actually you can stream it free somewhere on one of the other.
Absolutely.
One of the other ones you've got. So they're very good. Apple's the worst for that. Is you're like, and then you realize, actually it's actually on Netflix for free or whatever.
I must admit, I just cancelled my Apple sub about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I bought an Apple device approximately a year ago, and you get a free year sub to Apple TV.
Yeah, so I've just got mine. Yeah, just started one up now.
There you go. And then, to be honest, they had some really good stuff. They there was the TV newsreader type show. I can't think of the name of it now. That was really good, I thought.
The morning show.
The morning show.
Yeah, I'm about 5 or 6 through that. So.
Really enjoyed that. There was C with Jason, what's his name, about the sort of warring clans where nobody could see anything off in the future. I thought that was excellent. Really enjoyed that. And there was another couple of things that were less good, but they were okay. And of course, once I finished those, I didn't feel that there was anything coming through that particularly interested me. So I haven't watched Apple TV in many months.
A big launch thing when they said, "Oh, this is what we're going to do," and then it seems to be that they've not invested. Trouble is, there's so much money to put these things together,
but it is really today.
If you want proper quality, it's just
But today it takes your average viewer about 3 days to get through a 12 episode season 1 of a multi-million-dollar sort of investment series. It goes so quickly, so you need to have a ton of content going into the funnel to keep people from churning. And I've churned because it's not worth it to me.
What Apple tries to do is it tries to link everything in.
Yeah.
And therefore gives you you can watch this next. I mean, I go on Apple TV and it's recommending that I watch this on Prime, but actually I still find that the actual dedicated apps for each individual service is still miles better than what's going through Apple. It's like the Now TV app on Apple TV is rubbish compared to the actual if you go through a Now TV device. So it would be great if it was all properly done in one place, because they all want to take a bit of money from you, don't they? So they're never going to do that. And now you've got Disney Plus, which is now where all the Marvel and Star Wars stuff is all there on there.
It's arrived. It's arrived on my telly. Oh, the pain.
Is it really? How did that happen?
It arrived. I've no idea.
But it's the same with everything. But it's the same with gaming. I mean, your two lads are into the gaming, Paul, aren't they? So they
all 3 lads in this house are into gaming. Yeah.
Oh, good man. Good man.
But I couldn't believe the new Xbox has just sort of been launched, doesn't it? And is due out soon. But I was looking at some of the prices of some of the games there are like 80 and 90 quid.
It depends because most of the games now come out in a series of different editions. So some of them are
So you can, if you want the platinum edition or the gold edition and stuff.
Yeah. So some will come with like a season pass. So all of the DLCs that come out, over the course of the next year, you get all together downloadable content. By the way, less boring people.
It's just kind of mad, isn't it? It's always trying to squeeze that little bit more out of you.
Yeah, even something like FIFA, 3 different editions of FIFA 21 coming out. That starts at 50 quid and then goes up to 90 for the Champions edition, where you get. So my youngest plays Ultimate Team a lot, and where you have to kind of buy new, not with real money, although you can. Buy new players and make this kind of fantasy squad. It's basically a combination of fantasy football and FIFA. And a large part of what you get with the more expensive version of the game is loads of packs with these cards which give you the players in and all that kind of thing. It's a very well thought out and very dangerous model of getting you basically addicted to those kind of games.
Naz is all in, been called by Dylan. Ace 8 for Naz, Queens for Dylan. Dylan set a Queens
are going to do it.
Flop, which means we're going to lose Naz. This is now looking a little bit tricky for Shane to win MVP here, because he basically needs to bust Dylan next and then go on to win it. That is his only option, as we're down 3-handed now.
I'll tell you guys, talking about the games, right, the Game Pass and stuff like that, I declined an opportunity to do a Game Pass recently. I bought a game, cash money. Well, it wasn't cash. I mean, does one see cash these days? But Sean was away for 10 days, and hello, this could be a big one.
Queen 9 versus Jack
lose
9,
Charlie,
and we're gonna lose Charlie. Shane, you've knocked the wrong one out.
I think Shane's just lost the MVP. He's just cost himself the MVP.
He's just cost
He's
himself
not on
the
it any
MVP
longer.
by knocking Charles out, but he's
Oh, no.
very much in a strong position here to go on and win it. He's got over a 3-1 chip lead on Dylan here, but Simon, so Mr. Brooke is in the chat
Yeah,
and
he's
just
talking about
he's
Tiny
just sent a
World.
link saying Apple TV. Yeah, so I don't know what that
Never heard of it. I
is,
hope
but,
I hope I don't have to subscribe again. Will I? Oh no! But listen, guys. Sean called me up and she said, "Yeah, you okay, Des? You sounded a bit quiet. You didn't call me yesterday." So, oh no, I'm fine. I'm. You just enjoy your week and a half away in Wales with your parents and the kids. That's fine. I'm lonely, but it's fine. So I got this 65-inch TV on the kitchen table. I've only gone and bought Flight Simulator. So I've bought a pilot's jobby off of Amazon. So I've got the thrust control, I've got the joystick and all of that crap. Oh no, I'm fine. I'm
welcome
okay.
to Duffy Airways.
Yeah, I'm okay. And meanwhile, I'm tearing up the highways, right? About 200 feet off the ground. Brilliant. Flight Simulator, Paul. Go and get that.
That sounds
Yeah,
like
actually,
exactly the kind of thing
Kev
that I would
O'Hanlon
enjoy.
is Kev O'Hanlon's spot on that that Shane will get the added value as Dylan's going to win the team. Quite right, Kev.
Oh, it's a good play. It's a good call, Kevin.
Quite
Well done.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is quite right.
A small plug. A small plug. Is Simon involved in this one? Tiny World.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is. We'll have to get. I mean, I did ask Simon a couple of months back if
He's
he
very
wanted
coy,
to,
isn't he?
if he wanted to come on the show, and he was being a bit. I don't know.
He doesn't like to
not
give things
sure.
away, I think, Lee.
No, it's I think it's the whole thing that it's he is shy and he's not really one around the kind of the TV environment. Shane's all in, Ace Queen, King 10 for Dylan, and that's going to be
a double for Dylan.
That's
it.
That's it. That's all over. It's going to be Shane's going to win that.
Wow.
And that is that, as they say. So Shane wins tonight, $111, and Dylan finishes runner up tonight for $77. But that does mean Dylan's had an absolute cracking week for Purple Ackies. So along with Scouse, Bill Shepherd and Dan Austin, they are going to win game week 23. Eat My Stat guys will have to take second place this week. Very well done to them. And Dylan ends up top of the pile with 458 points. Shane 2 points behind Des.
Oof.
2 points is all he was missing. So unfortunately, Dylan takes MVP, but Shane will get the added value for it, as Kev pointed out, because Dylan will already get the added value for the team. So so that will be that. So that's game week 23 all done, Mr. Duffy.
Absolutely cracking entertainment all round, Lee. And also a big well done to Mr. Warfinger, who took the roller earlier on this evening from Shug. Heads up. So great night's poker, guys. Hope you all enjoyed it. Touch wood, you get to play next week. And Lee and I have no doubt we'll be back next weekend, catastrophes allowing. Paul, thank you very much for your company. The time just flew by. Nearly 2 hours. Flew. Amazing stuff.
Pleasure as always.
And good luck on your Thursday night. I hope you're making a bit of cash there. Do let us know. Yeah, let us know if anything changes.
Go make my millions in NL 100 in Coventry. There we go.
Hey, it's fun money, right? It's just, cash money. So
all money
that's
is good
it.
money.
All money is good money. Too bloody right, mate. And get Apple TV for it. Apparently, there's a brand new Tiny World. Tiny World, is it?
Tiny World, yeah.
Tiny World. Reminds me of crikey, what was it? WCOP. Tiny. Back in Dust Till Dawn days.
Yes.
Yeah. So listen, that's it for us, guys. We will catch you next weekend. Have a great week, and I think that's a wrap. Night, everyone.
Night.